If you're trying to sell your house right now in Edmonton, in my opinion, you just need to offload it. And if you're thinking about selling your house right now, I'd get it on the market as soon as possible because this opportunity that we're seeing right now won't last forever. And if you're thinking about buying a property here at Edmonton, I would honestly wait. I'd wait at least until the wintertime or even a little bit later once prices start to level off here. Because what we are seeing in the data right now, and I'll touch on that in a little bit here, is that sellers may not have this opportunity for quite some time. Though if you're a buyer, I do believe that there's more opportunity ahead, hence why I'm telling you should wait. And just to figure this out, I'm gonna first go over all of the data that's currently available here in the real estate market. And then I'm gonna give my own 2 cents, just expanding upon a little bit more what I had said earlier, just depending on whether you're a buyer or a seller. Then I'm gonna show you this tool that I've been using for quite some time. It's pretty handy when determining the home value of a property, so stick around for that. And so the first thing I wanted to talk about here is the home prices across all residential. So we're talking detached, semi-detached, row homes, condos. This is everything in a big picture kind of graph here. And so as we can see here, home prices over the last month over month, it's really pretty much been stagnant here. As you can see, September, 410,000. Year over year is still up pretty much 4%, almost 3.9%. And so as you can see, ever since March, we've been on a sliding scale downwards. And so this is where I was saying that, we're probably going to see a continuing slide decline. Obviously, last year being there was a bit of an uptick here. So it'll be interesting to see as October data comes out. And so I just wanted to show you this second graph when it comes to home prices as well. Basically the benchmark price trend. And so as you can see, ever since December of 2024, prices were doing really not much. And then onwards, they just spiked all the way up to basically almost $430,000 as far as the benchmark price. Now, as you can see here, as we continue on with 2025, prices have started to slide downwards month over month. And so it's going to be interesting to see, are we going to see prices, 2024 or early 20 or late 2024 prices? It's hard to say, right? It's always one of those things that nobody truly knows, but all we know right now is prices are sliding downwards. But the next graph I wanted to show you was new listings. Again, this is all residential properties. And we're more or less following the same graph, which is kind of funny. You always think about like history repeats itself. And so just to explain a little bit more, obviously the black graph being last year, the blue graph or blue bar, sorry, is this year. And so again, when it comes to new listings, typically even from like other cities in Canada here that we tend to see an uptick here. And so it'll be interesting to see, October's data as it comes out here in November, beginning of November. So if we're expecting to have the same thing last year happen in this year, well, the new listings are going to continue to decline here as we go into the fall here. And then the next one I wanted to talk about was the total sales. And so this is what I was talking about earlier when you're referring to you as a seller, right? So as we've seen there, new listings, there might be a slight incline, but looks like probably not. Prices have continually been sliding downwards. And so when it comes to sales, there was an uptick last year. And this holds true again, like I was talking about earlier, is that in multiple major cities within Canada, this almost rings true every single time, is that more sales happen this time of the year. And so that's why I was saying it's kind of like, this is your opportunity. There's going to be more buyers out. There's going to be more transactions. And you want to be one of them as a seller, right? You want to be the one. Because once November, December hits, prices continue to go down. Sales go down. And, as we'll look at some inventory, what that does as well. But so right now, we're going to be seeing more activity come October. So just keep that in mind as we continue on here. But the next graph is total inventory. So as you can see here, and again, back to you sellers, we have more inventory now than ever from the last 2 years. And even if you go back farther, inventory is high. And again, it's not just Edmonton, it's everywhere. So what does that translate to? Well, you got more competition, and then buyers, you have more options. But what we're seeing here is that come October, November, December, things naturally just fall off as far as total inventory. So that's most likely going to happen again here as people just kind of give up on the idea of trying to sell their home in 2025. And then they'll, come January, February, March, they'll most likely relist or reassess if they want to do that anyways. But as you can see here, the last 3 months there, inventory has gone down slightly. Again, we're still year over year, we're still like 20+% overwards. And then the month of inventory, which is, we have 5,298 properties currently for sale in Edmonton. Now, based on how many sales happen each month, that's how much months of inventory we have. And so as you can see from July, August, and September, is that that's growing. So basically less sales are happening and the inventory is staying the same. But now this is where I wanted to get more granular or more specific depending on what market you're in, because that was just all generic stuff, right? And so now I want to get into more specific, but then at the end, I'm going to give my 2 cents on what I think you should do as a buyer or seller. And then I'm going to show you that tool that I alluded to earlier. So stick around for that. But residential detached, as you can see here, ever since March, again, blue graph being this year, black, or sorry, I should say line being last year, is that prices have been coming downwards. And kind of to that earlier graph I showed you, the benchmark price graph, prices have, skyrocketed essentially. Late 2024 is what it was. We're kind of seeing that price growth diminish here as, month over month as the graph goes down. September, August, July, prices have continued to slide downwards. We're still above the year over year, but like looking at this graph here, we're probably gonna, I should say, the year over year growth is probably gonna be less come October and November. So that's going to be my guess on this one. And then moving on to semi-detached. And as you can see here, the price hasn't moved too much, right? This is a $20,000 increments. So it's not a crazy amount of price difference. But as you can see here, like prices have more or less followed the same path. They've obviously been slightly higher, but they've followed that same path. And so come October, November, we're most likely going to see the same thing happen. So in my opinion, you might see a slight decline here, but not as drastic as I think the detached market has in store for it. But moving on to residential row homes, and it's kind of the same kind of picture here that's between the residential row home and the semi-detached, is that prices are more or less hovering, anywhere from 20 to 40 grand difference over the last year or two. And I imagine it's most likely going to be the same here going forward, right? So we do have a bit of a price increase here. There was a bit of a dip here in July, and then August, September, it kind of recovered, right? But again, this is medium home price, just an FYI there. So month over month, it's been up. Year over year, it's up substantially. Days on market. So this is how many days the house typically takes to sell. So if you're a residential row home and you're looking at selling, expect about almost a 40-day lead time. And then the last segment I want to talk to you before I give my 2 cents on if you're a buyer or seller and then showing you that tool is the condo apartment sector. It's basically the same as the residential, semi-detached, the row home, is that prices are more or less about the same as last year. And then we look at the forecast of what's going to happen here in the apartment. My best guess is that we're most likely going to see a slight decline, and it's not going to be as aggressive as I would say as the detached market, but I do have some thoughts on that. So stick around for the selling portion while I'll dive a little bit more into why I think that. Now I want to briefly touch on what the real estate board here in Edmonton is saying. So cooling market, still seeing some heat in these semi-detached units. And so we did see a slight increase in prices there and actually activity there. But continuing on here, housing activity in the greater Edmonton area. Now, again, this is relating to the GEA. All the stats and data that I was talking about specifically Edmonton. And so just keep that in mind here because it's going to be a little bit different. Had 3,645 new listings compared to previous month figures, 0.1 increase in new listings, 7.8 decrease in sales. Year over year changes, 16.3% more listings added. So we've seen that there's a lot more listings happening, fewer sales, and the difference created a 25.6 increase in availability inventory compared to a year ago. So again, we've seen that where it's in the mid 20s as far as inventory year over year. Average selling price across all residential property types decreased 1.8%. Though it remains 2.8% higher than last year of September. Going forward, I see that difference shrinking month over month here as prices tend to go downwards. And this is the chair board here. Real estate activity is getting quieter as expected in the fall, though last month we did see prices go up in the semi-detached and even row and townhome property types. Looking ahead, there is some potential for another spike of activity if the Bank of Canada lowers its interest rate again. We'll see what happens when they decide to hold firm or reduce rates. Obviously, we're gonna be playing a waiting game here, but we'll have to wait and see how many buyers are incentivized by their ability to leverage that lending power and whether or not they'll be able to capitalize on the cooling effect of autumn on home prices. So all that to say, the one segment there, semi-detached and row homes, seem to have some more activity, but otherwise prices are going downwards unless the government does something. That's most likely what we're going to see here continuing going forward. Now, we've gone over a lot of information here, and as promised, what does this mean for you going here in 2025 and even into 2026? And so if you're buying or you're wanting to buy here in 2025, these are my thoughts for you. Listings are at an all-time high, so you have lots of options. So there's no need to stress because there's a lot of options. But these options, unfortunately, are probably priced too high, and you're probably just waiting for more inventory to hit the market that is more sensible in their pricing strategy. Row and semi-detached saw an increase, but for how long? And so we did see the chair there of Edmonton, and just in the data ourselves there, that prices did see a slight increase there. But for how long is really the question that we should all be asking ourselves. And so do you want to pay the higher price when you could potentially wait a couple months, especially during the wintertime when prices are softer? So keep that in mind. And the next one being detached pricing are still coming down. We're seeing that in the data there. There's a clear trajectory going downwards. And so what I would say is if you can wait, you're probably going to be best off to wait just to see until at least we level off, and then you can hop back in. But it's always one of those tricky things where, like, how do we know we're at the bottom? Well, we start going up. Well, how do you know? And then all of a sudden everyone else kind of jumps on board. So if it's the right time for you, now's a great time. There's lots of listings. There's prices are sliding downwards. So kind of food for thought. And then we're seeing the exact same thing in condos. They're trending downwards as well now. So overall, prices are trending downwards, especially during the winter months. We see that across all the major cities. It's like there's activity in the spring, summer kind of plateaus, and then we'll usually have like a little blip in the fall or September, October, and then shoo, goes downwards. And so that's what we can expect. And so the big thing I say here is, can you wait, right? Are you able to wait and see if prices go back to what 2024 there, right? Because they were basically in the, well, I guess the median price across all sectors was about just under 400,000. And so now it's creeped up to 430, 440. Now it's kind of slightly going downwards. So can you wait is my question, because I see prices continuing going downwards. So if you can wait, I think there's more opportunities ahead for you. And then the last thing here is what I always say is it's still important to get pre-approved. There's no sense going and looking at homes, going and look at condos, townhomes, whatever you're looking at, and then only to realize you can't afford that. So do your homework, do your due diligence, get all your ducks in a row, and then go out, go house hunting. Now, if you're thinking about selling in 2025 here, these are the words I have for you. Is that sales trend upwards here in the fall. So it's your kind of your last chance as far as getting a deal done, in my opinion. Obviously, it's not your last chance. You still have all the other months, but there's just more activity during these types of months. So it's not a bad idea to take any offers or interest seriously when, well, during the next month or so. And so this next point here, detached will take the biggest hit. I want to just spend a little bit of time on this one just to explain what I think makes the most sense. And so right now, if you look back at the graphs there, right, we've seen detached market, had a massive gains there in the beginning of last year, right? And obviously the semi-detached, the rows, and the apartment building, they saw a little bit as well, but not near as much. But now that we're on the other side of that, where prices are starting to come downwards, detached markets are going to take the biggest hit because they're the most expensive thing in the market and less people can afford them. That's kind of why we've seen the prices of the condos, the rows, and the semi-detached, not say stagnant, but like they haven't had the crazy valleys and mountaintops. And so my thought is, if you're trying to sell your detached to go buy another detached, that's whatever, right? You're more or less in the same market, right? If you buy and sell in the same market, the trends don't tend to matter too much. But if you are thinking about, let's say, downsizing, right? You're selling your detached to buy a condo. Well, the longer you wait, the more percentage-wise detached housing market is going to decrease than the condo market will. And so the longer you wait, the less money you will, in theory, have in your pocket. Now, the flip side on that too is that, like, if you're living in a condo right now and you're wanting to upsize into a row, or you upsize into a semi-detached, or upsize into even a detached, you your opportunity or the window to jump to the next kind of level, if you want to call it that, is getting better and better as the days go on. Now, obviously, there's going to come a point when like prices are just going to stay stagnant and going to start going upwards. But if you're thinking of upsizing, I'd say now is a great opportunity. Or even if you wait a little bit until the detached market takes even a slightly bigger hit, then there might be a better opportunity. But right now, if you're upsizing, there truly is a good opportunity for you right now. And so that's why I just wanted to explain that just a little bit more. Basically, detached market is going to be taking a bigger hit. The condos, the apartments, and the rows and semi-detached won't take as big of a hit. And so keep that in mind when you're thinking about. So the next point being listings are high, still lots of competition. As we've seen there in the listings graph is that listings are at, or inventory, I should say, is at an all-time high. We have lots of, which translates into lots of competition. So you got to think to yourself, okay, if my house is like 14 other houses on my street or in my neighborhood that are for sale and we're all kind of more or less the same, how is mine going to stick out? And what I always say is just you got to fix what's broken. You know, the latch is loose or like there's some trim broken or like the paint's kind of peeling off. It's just like you want to make it look like, or at least make it look like your home is being well taken care of. So when they walk in, they're like, wow, there's nothing I need to do. That's been maintained. That's taken care of. You know, they're impressed by just their overall condition that you've kept your home in. That's the biggest thing. And then you also need to price your home sharply because right now prices are sliding downwards. So the conversation that I usually have with people is that, okay, the market's here. And then you as a homeowner, like, you know what, my house is worth this and slightly above. So you may not get all the crazy offers right away or activity, but you want to see, you want to try it. And so the realtor agrees, and then a month goes by, and the market is now down here, and you're like, well, we should probably reduce our price. So you reduce it here, but the market is still below where your price is at. And so literally you just start chasing the market down until January hits or December hits when it kind of hits its bottom and you get all frustrated. So that's why I say is like, you need to fix what's broken and also be, I'm not saying the best price, but like you need to be competitive on your price because you have a lot of other competition out there. And then the last one here, which I always say to everyone that I talk to, is that you need to know your reason for selling. There's no point going through all of this process, these headaches, whatever, only for you not to sell your property. Now, again, I'm never going to be the one that tells you, hey, you know, once you've listed the property, you have to sell it. It's ridiculous. Like life happens and things change. But what I don't want to happen to you is that you go through all this stuff and then realize that, oh, we can't sell our home, or oh, I no longer want to, or oh, what I don't want to happen to you is you go through all of this process, the showings, the buyers coming by, and the negotiations, the stress, the trying to figure out what makes the most sense, only for you not to sell. So keep that in mind if you're thinking about selling. Now, before we get into that real estate tool that I was talking about earlier, is that do you think I'm way out to lunch when it comes to buyers and sellers and the advice I give? Because I truly believe the stuff that I said is true. But what are you seeing out there in the market that may differ from what I'm saying? And then the second thing I want to mention is that, is there anything in my reports that you would like more in detail or more in depth? Because I'm always just trying to make these reports better. So let me know. But as promised, here's this real estate tool that I was talking about. You can scan this QR code. It's zero conversation home evaluation. You literally just scan this QR, fill in the information. You get this home evaluation instantly. You don't got to talk to me. So what we're going to do here is I'm just going to grab my phone. I'm going to scan this QR code. I'm going to show you how it works. So here we go. We have the scan loaded up here. What's my home worth? Get your home value in under 10 seconds. So what we're going to do is just we're going to hop over to realtor.ca. We're going to click on a property here. It's listed for $619,000. We're going to copy that, go back over here. We're going to type in the address. It's going to pop up. Perfect. Email address, phone number, name, send it. Say thank you. So what we're going to do, boom, there it is. $596,300. And so it's a little bit higher. So again, depending on what the realtor and the homeowner agreed upon for pricing strategy, but it's pretty dang close to that. And so what you can use this for is essentially, if you're looking at homes as a buyer, you want to know how it compares to what this program here says, you can do so. Or if you currently have your home listed for sale, you can basically plug it in there and just see how it compares. And it's, like I say, it's a pretty handy tool. What I will say though is full transparency. I do get your information. Myself or someone from my team will reach out to you just to see if you need any help. And if you don't, it's all good. We'll go on our way. But if you do need some help or want some assistance, kind of more tailored to your specific situation, because again, this information I'm giving here in this video is generic advice, but obviously everybody's situation is so different. So we're just here to help. And if you don't need any, like I said, we'll move on. Not an issue. Now, on that same trend of just being fully transparent with you, I don't live in Edmonton. I live in British Columbia here, the Lower Mainland. And if you need an introduction to a realtor out there to help you with whatever you're trying to do, I got some great connections that I can more than happy make an introduction to you. So reach out for that. But if you do want some just generic, or I should say generic, more specific advice on what you're trying to do here, I'm more than happy just to, send me an email, send me a text, you can book a call. More than happy just to talk through your situation. As again, the information in this video is just more generic advice. So keep that in mind. Now, if you want to stay up to date with what's happening here in Edmonton and you like this style of report, don't forget to like and subscribe so the algorithm pushes this content to you when I come out with the next report. But if you are curious on what you should do before and after moving in, I got this great video right here that describes everything you need to do before and after moving into a house. So go watch that one. And as always, I appreciate you watching, sticking around with me. But with that said, I'll see you in the next one.